Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're going to be breaking the Space Marines down. We're going to be breaking down the Space Marines. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. Alright, so the free Munitorum field manual just dropped. So today we're going to be breaking down the Space Marines as they have seen some massive changes. Now right off the bat, it's worth noting that Armor of Contempt is gone now. So that is no longer a rule. So now that Armor of Contempt is gone, certain units are going to benefit from that. Every one of the Space Marines gets a little weaker because they lose it, but some of them already had lost it because they took things like Storm Shields. So those types of units are going to gain against the rest of the codex. Otherwise, it's really just the actual points changes that we're going to be paying attention to. And there's a lot of Space Marine characters we can go through and look at, but we'll sense a common theme. So what we're essentially looking for is to see where the biggest changes have happened. Because we already know what was kind of good for Space Marines and what wasn't really that good. So unless something gets a drastic points change, it's probably not going to fluctuate too much within the codex. Now obviously there's some exceptions to the rules and the meta will change, but mostly what we're looking for is the big changes. So just looking at the characters, we know that none of the characters are going to change by more than maybe 10 or 20 points. Possibly you'll be taking more free war gear on them, but they're not going to suddenly just be like game breaking. And, while we're trying to break down the points changes today, we're also kind of looking for, what is broken by the changes. So in general, you'll find, I think, when you look through here, that most characters have went down by about 5 to 20 points. If they were already really popular in the meta and being taken often, they went down by less points. If they were almost never being seen, you're likely to see the higher reduction in the points range. So there's so many characters and they're all different for all the Space Marine chapters, so we're not really going to focus on those. Let's look at some of the more common units that people are going to be taking, and we can see how that affects more people's armies. So before we get moving, we want to pay attention to something specific, how this is laid out, and that way everybody has the same understanding of how this works. When we have the unit name listed at the top here and then unit size, that's basic. Unit cost is the total points for that unit. And then the various upgrades they're able to purchase are here. And if something is in red, it means it changed. And in the Space Marine case, most of the things changed and got cheaper, but sometimes the base unit got more expensive and the upgrades got cheaper. So as a general rule, what we want to pay attention to is the stuff in red and then the total points of a unit. So in the case of our captain, he's obviously going to be one model, and then his unit cost is going to be 85 points. And that's with any available war gear or equipment on his datasheet, with the exception of, if you would like to take a jump pack, it's an extra 25 points. And if you would like to take a thunderhammer, it's an extra 10 points. But all other equipment and options are free, with the exception of the chapter command upgrades that you can give to various units like the Ancient, the Company Champion, Chapter Master, Chief Apothecary, Chief Librarian, Master of Sanctity, and Master of the Forge. And all those points are listed here appropriately. So with the exception of those upgrades, if you want to purchase that specific unit, that's the complete cost for him. So if we just look now at the Tech Marine, so if we take for instance our Tech Marine, he's going to be one model, he's going to cost 70 points. And that's with all of the available options. He no longer has to pay the extra points for various pieces of equipment or war gear, with the exception of if you want to take the Master of the Forge upgrade, which is still available for 15 points. So now that we have that laid out and we understand exactly how this works, let's take a look at some of the common data sheets. So let's just take a look at the troops. We'll look at the Assault Intercessors first, 5 to 10 models and 17 points per model. So here we see the Assault Intercessor Squad and 19 points apiece. So they went down by 2 points each. And if we just go down here to the war gear options, we can see they have a bunch of different pieces of war gear available to them. So for instance, the Assault Intercessor Sergeant's heavy bolt pistol can be replaced with the following. And you can choose either one hand flamer or one plasma pistol. So if we just go up here, previously we would have to pay 5 points for the hand flamer or 5 points to the plasma pistol. So you may not even take that at all. But in this case, now that's free. So of course you would rather have the best weapon, which in most cases is going to be the plasma pistol. And then also the Astartes Sergeant's chainsword can be replaced with one of the following: Power Fist, Power Sword, or thunder hammer. And we see previously the power fist was 10 points, the power sword was 5 points, and the thunder hammer is 20 points. And in this case, for the assault intercessors, the cost is just 7 points per model. There are no bullet points, so there's no additional cost for any of the other upgrades. So if you take small squads with all the free upgrades you can, you're going to get the most benefit from the new points changes. So that 5-man squad now is going to cost 17 points per model with all the upgrades you want for free. So that's 85 points. As opposed to previously, those same 5 models would be 19 points per model, so 95 points. Plus you would have to pay 20 points for your thunder hammer or 15 for your power fist. Plus you would have to pay 5 for your plasma pistol or your hand flamer. So total, that would have cost you 120 points for what you can now get for 85 points. So what that means is we take our 85 points for the unit now, divided by 120 points it would have cost prior, and we get 0.70. So that means we get 30% savings over what this unit would have cost before. And we're getting 35 points worth of equipments or upgrades for free. So at 85 points, this squad is pretty awesome, running around with a thunder hammer, a plasma pistol, and pretty decent. So we'll keep that in mind. 30% is pretty good. So heavy intercessors are next. They are now 23 points per model, and they used to be 28 points per model. So they've come down 5 per model. So a squad of 5 is going to be 25 points cheaper, which isn't bad. And then also you can take one heavy weapon, which is 10 points. So that's about 35 points cheaper. Then we have incursors. They are now 18 points per model. They used to be 21 points per model. So you save 3 per model, that's 15 points. And then the haywire mine used to cost 10 points as well. So that's a free 25 points. And honestly, incursors were pretty good before. Now they're very good at 90 points. So again, 20 free points and pretty good. Then we have infiltrators next. Infiltrators used to cost 24 points, and now they only cost 20. And previously, their Helix Gauntlet upgrade was 10 points as well. So if you wanted to run 5 infiltrators before, it would cost you 120 points, plus another 10 for the Helix Gauntlet. So 130 total points. Now that same unit is only going to cost you 100. So you're saving about 30 points on that. So we see a pretty common theme here. If we take a look at the Intercessor Squad next, again, we take a minimum squad of 5 at 18 points per model now. Those same 5 models used to cost 20 points apiece. So now that unit's going to cost 90 instead of 100. And then on top of that, again, we can take the most expensive upgrades for free. So we're going to take a Thunder Hammer for 20 points, a Plasma Pistol for 5 points, and an Astartes Grenade Launcher for 5 points as well. So that unit now, fully kitted out, is going to be 5 models at 18 points each. That's 90 total points. Previously, we would have paid 5 times 20 for 100 points, plus 20 for a Thunder Hammer, plus 5 for a Plasma Pistol, plus 5 for the Grenade Launcher, for a total of 130 points. So our new total of 90 points divided by the old total of 130 points equals 0.69% or 69%. So that's 31% savings or 40 points on an Intercessor Squad. Now granted, before maybe you weren't going to fully kit them out, but now you get to for even less points. So of course you're going to. And with some of the new rules like the sticky objectives on your intercessors and other troops choices, suddenly these are some viable options. So there's some other big savers as well. Let's go through and just kind of pick out a couple of units that made out really good. So if we start here with the Aggressor Squad, we can see that they are now 30 points per model and there's no bullet points. And before we could see the aggressors were 40 points per model and an additional 5 points for the Fragstorm Grenade Launcher, which was included when you upgraded to the Auto Boltstorm Gauntlets instead of the Flamestorm Gauntlets. So the Flamestorm Gauntlets have gone down by 10 points, which is good, but the Auto Boltstorm Gauntlet aggressors with the Fragstorm Grenade Launchers have gone down by 15 points per model. So for the Boltstorm aggressors, they used to cost 45 points apiece, times 3 is 135. Now they're 30 points apiece, times 3, so 90. 90 divided by 135 gives us 66%, which is 34% cheaper than what they used to be, or 45 points in savings. So if we go through here, we'll find commonly that most things have about a 20 to maybe 35% change. So what we're looking for is units that have the higher end of that. So a lot of people were excited for the Centurion Assault Squad. The unit cost actually went up to 60 points and was previously only 55, but now you don't have to pay for the Melt-A-Gun or Hurricane Bolter. So a Centurion now fully kitted out is 60 points, and a lot of people were excited about this, as where previously it was 55 plus 10 for your Hurricane Bolter, plus 5 for each of 2 Melt-A-Guns, so they were 75 points each. But really, if we just do the math real quick, we can see 180 now compared to 225 before is actually only 0.8, which is 20% cheaper and saves us 45 points. So in comparison to some of the other units we looked at, like the aggressors or the intercessors that are closer to, 30+%, they're actually much better. And again, when we say they're much better, we're looking at relative to the other things in the codex. Now, there are some other things to take into account that points won't actually reflect, like the difference between units that were benefiting from Armor of Contempt compared to the ones that weren't. And a specific example of a unit that was not benefiting from Armor of Contempt is the Blade Guard Veteran Squad. So we see the Blade Guard Veteran Squad is actually still 35 points, and it was before. The only equipment options are a pistol on the Sergeant, so you arguably get 5 points free there, but everything else in the book basically saw reductions in points. So because the Blade Guard didn't go down in points, they actually got slightly worse relative to everything else in the book. Now that being said, because they weren't benefiting from Armor of Contempt went away and everything else in the book got slightly worse compared to them. So somewhere in the middle, they have actually kind of balanced out. So I'm not necessarily sure the Blade Guard are actually better or worse now. I think relative with those two changes, they're probably slightly better, even though they didn't go down in points. And now a quick message from this week's sponsor. This video is sponsored by CMOGames.com, where you can get 15% off most Games Workshop pre-orders, and they go live right at midnight Saturday mornings. CMOGames.com offers free shipping on orders over $25 in the US 48, and most orders ship within 24 hours. CMOGames.com has been selling Games Workshop products online for more than 20 years, and customer service is their top priority. CMOGames.com carries the full line of Games Workshop products, including 40K, Age of Sigmar, Kill Team, warcry, paints, hobbies, and tools. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description below so they know you heard about CMOGames.com from Warhammer Man Studios. Now, back to the video. So what's another unit that really benefited from these points changes? That's what we're really looking for. So if we come down here to the Terminator Assault Squad, that's one that really stands out to me. The reason being, each model is 33 points. So the Terminator Squad now is 33 points per model times 5 models, 165 points, and that's with our Thunderhammers, Storm Shield, and Teleport Homer. One of the cool things about the Terminators, and the reason we're paying attention to them in specific, is they had the same beneficial move with the removal of Armor of Contempt when they're carrying Storm Shields that the Blade Guard Veterans did. But because the Blade Guard Veterans' points didn't change, they actually benefited from the rules but didn't benefit from the points cut, as where the Terminators are now only 33 points apiece for 5 of them, which is 165 points, as where before they were 33 points each plus 10 for their Thunderhammer, taking them up to 43 points each times 5, which is 215 points, and then they had to pay 5 points for a Teleport Homer. So if we take that 165 and divide it by 220, we get 0.75, which means they're 25% cheaper now, and we save 55 points on 5 Terminators. And because only 5 points comes from the optional Teleport Homer War Gear, if we were looking to see how much a 10-man unit would change, it's only going to change by that 5 points, so it's still going to be very close to 25 points cheaper than it was before. So because Terminators both benefited from the points drop and also from everything else losing Armor of Contempt, now they're a specific unit that I'm definitely paying attention to, and specifically the ones with Storm Shields. So naturally, the next thing that would come to mind would be Vanguard Veteran Squad, because of course you can take Thunderhammers and Storm Shields. But we see right away that the Vanguard Veterans actually went up to 20 points, so they're 1 point more expensive, and their Thunderhammers, Storm Shields, and other equipment still cost points. So even though the Thunderhammer was 12 points before and the Storm Shield was 5, you still have to pay for your jetpacks, and the actual model went up by 1 point. So even though the Thunderhammer went down from 12 points to 10, the model went up by 1 point. So really you're only saving 1 point now. So because you still have to pay for all of these upgrades, and the actual units didn't go down that much either, Vanguard veterans didn't benefit nearly as much as the Terminator Assault Squad. So I know what you're thinking, this is pretty fun, I could do this all day. And we could go through every single unit and do the math and figure this all out, put it on a spreadsheet and see who the big winners and losers are. But we've already picked up a very common pattern, and I think it's easier to just think, hey, what units fit into that pattern, and then we can just go focus on those ones. So I've been a Space Marine player for almost 3 decades at this point in time, and one of the specific armies that comes to mind is one of my current armies. Not just because I'm interested in it, but because I know it well, and also because it has a lot of units that fit the criteria. So what is the actual criteria? So we're looking for units that have come down in points, and hopefully high percentages relative to the army, or units that we were already taking in our army that have just come down in points, and we can just see how much that benefits us. But we don't want to focus too much on just the actual units points cost. What we really want to look for is what gets us the most free upgrades. So far we have seen that the Intercessor Squad is really good and gets us tons of free equipment and is super cheap. So naturally some Blood Angel units come to mind. And the reason those Blood Angel units come to mind is because I like Blood Angels. But also there's some clear winners in here. So if we take a quick look at our Death Company Marines, something that we were already taking before, we know we can get 5 or 10 of them, and the unit cost is 20 points per model. Unfortunately, the Death Company units used to cost 18 points per model, so they've actually gone up by 2 points each. They still have to pay for their jump packs, and some of their equipment they still have to pay for as well. So we see the Death Company Marines used to be 18 points apiece, so they've actually gone up by 2 points. The Thunderhammer has gone down from 15 to 10 points. The Power Fist has gone down from 10 points to 5 points. They still have to pay 3 points for their jump packs. But all of the rest of their equipment is now free. So you can now take a Power Sword, a Power Maul, a Power Axe, a Plasma Pistol, an Inferno Pistol, or a Hand Flamer for free. Now we still have to follow the actual rules for the unit, but here we see any number of models can replace their bolt pistol and chainsword with a Thunderhammer. Any number of models can replace their bolt pistol with one of the following: Hand Flamer, Inferno Pistol, or Plasma Pistol. Any number of models can replace their chainsword with a Power Axe, a Power Fist, a Power Maul, or a Power Sword. So a common unit that I like to take is 5 Death Company Marines with jump packs and 4 Thunderhammers. So now that's going to cost 5 times 20, 100, plus 15 points for the jump packs, plus 40 points for the 4 Thunderhammers. That's 155 points. Before, that same unit used to cost me 165 points. So it's actually only 10 points cheaper, which isn't that big of a deal. Another unit I like to take is a Death Company, which is going to cost 5 guys 100 points. Would take 15 points for jump packs. We're going to go ahead and equip each guy with a Power Sword or Power Axe, and then also a Fusion Pistol. So those are all free now, so we're going to spend 115 points on 5 of them. Before we used to have to pay 5 times 18, so 90 points, 10 points cheaper, and then 15 for the packs. So it actually came out to 105 before. So we're actually paying 10 points more. But when we take into account the extra 25 we used to have to pay for the Power Swords, and the 25 we would have to pay for the pistols, that comes out to 155 points. So now we're getting an entire Death Company with jump packs, Power Swords or Power Axes, and Fusion or Hand Flamers for 115 points, which previously would cost us 155. So we're now getting that Death Company for 115 points. Previously, those same mods would have cost us 155. So that is 75% or 25% savings on a unit we were already taking before, and that's 40 points per 5 models. So the Death Company is definitely a winner in this book. I was already taking 3 squads in my army. Now I'm going to keep taking 1 with the swords and the pistols. I'm still going to take the ones with the Thunderhammers as well. Unfortunately, they didn't benefit as much as the other variants with the points decreases. But now you can take a Power Fist and an Inferno Pistol for a total of 5 points per model. So Death Company with Power Fists and Fusion are definitely a thing now, because you're only paying 5 points, and previously you were paying 10 for the fist and 5 for the pistol. So you're saving 15 points a model. So what if we take that same 5-man squad? That's going to cost us 100 points. We give them 15 points for the jump packs. And then now we're going to pay 5 points a piece for power fists for 25 points. And then we're going to get free 5 Inferno pistols. So that's 140 points for 5 models, all with jump packs, Inferno pistols, and power fists. Previously, those same 5 guys would have cost us 90 points, 15 for the packs. But 10 points a piece for the power fist would have been 50 points. So that would have been 155. So we're saving 15, but we also didn't have to pay for those Inferno pistols. So really that same unit would have cost us 180 points. Now it's only 140. 140 divided by 180, 78%. So 22% savings and 40 points. So I think there's a good possibility we're actually going to start seeing power fists and Inferno pistols instead. Which then takes me to our next unit. We want to look at the Sanguinary Guard. So Sanguinary Guard, 30 points per model now. And I know what you're thinking. Sanguinary Guard used to be 30 points and they get their jump packs for free. But they used to have to pay 5 points for a power fist, plasma pistol, or Inferno pistol. So now they can get a power fist and an Inferno pistol for free. So those same Sanguinary Guard are still going to cost 150 points for 5. But now we get 25 points worth of power fists for free, 25 points worth of Inferno pistols for free. And that comes out to 200 points. So we're paying 150 points for 200 points worth of models from before, which comes out to 0.75 or 25% cheaper than they used to be with a power fist and a fusion pistol. And that saves us 50 points, or essentially gives us 50 free points in war gear. 10 points in war gear per guy. So that being said, I think we're going to see a lot more Death Company and Sanguinary Guard armed with power fists. We're probably not going to need nearly as many Thunderhammers, because to tell you the truth, the output of a power fist with a fusion pistol is better than the total output of a Thunderhammer for sure. And having them in mass on jump units allows us to get into position to either shoot or charge without being limited to things like Lookout Sir or screens. So like I said, we could keep doing this all day, and there's tons of awesome points cuts. Lots of Space Marine units that weren't viable before are suddenly viable. Lots of units that were already viable, like the Death Company and Sanguinary Guard, are even better now. And the truth is, this is a massive shakeup, not just for Space Marines, but for everyone. But I think I've pointed out essentially what we're looking for and how we can figure out which units have benefited the most from some of the new changes. We've also seen a lot of points come down on vehicles, and we know exactly what to pay attention for. We want to look at vehicles that got big points reductions to their overall points cost, and also got lots of cool upgrades that were previously expensive that now are free. So things like our gladiators and our repulsors and executioners have gotten much stronger now. We also saw a big boost to the impulsor, which has both come down in price and then also gets its cool upgrade now for free. So previously it would cost about 130 points for a kitted out impulsor, and now we get that same impulsor for 100 points. So again, coming in right around that 77% or 23% cheaper. And while we're here, I think we should talk about the hammerfall in the room. Obviously, fortifications have not been that popular in previous editions, and Games Workshop is trying to revive them, but the hammerfall bunker is now only 100 points. It was previously 175 points, which means it's come down in price 43%. And from what I've noticed, that's the biggest amount in the entire book. Does that suddenly make the hammerfall bunker great and we should all be taking one? I'm not sure about that, but you could definitely make an argument that if it came down from 175 points and now it's 100, it's at least worth a look. So that's how I'm looking at the changes for Space Marines. Let me know what units you've found that really stick out if you're playing a different Space Marine army or some other units that I may have missed. If there's any massive ones as big as the hammerfall bunker, please point those out as well. I thought that was super cool, and suddenly, all of a sudden, fortifications are a lot more viable, especially with the new mission pack where you no longer have to pay a command point to take that fortification. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Going to go ahead and wrap it up there. Make sure to check out CMO Games to save 15% and free shipping in the USA. But that's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios with our new look at the Space Marines points values and how I'm figuring out which units got the biggest cuts. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm out of here.